On a small ranch in the heart of Texas lived a courageous mustang named Shadow. Known for his strength, speed, and indomitable spirit, Shadow was the most admired horse in the region. He and his owner, Jack, shared an unbreakable bond, a friendship that had weathered storms, droughts, and many challenges. Jack was a middle-aged man with wrinkles that told stories of a life of hard work under the scorching sun. He had found Shadow as a colt, lost and alone in the desert. Since then, the two were inseparable, and Jack never ceased to marvel at his horse's intelligence and bravery. One summer day, as the sun shone brightly in the sky, Jack decided to take Shadow for a ride through the lush fields surrounding the ranch. They rode in silence, enjoying the peace that nature offered. But without warning, a storm formed on the horizon, and the clear sky was quickly taken over by dark and threatening clouds. As the first raindrops began to fall, Jack tried to head back to the ranch, but Shadow seemed restless, as if sensing something was wrong. The horse neighed nervously, looking towards the dense forest to their right. Trusting his friend's intuition, Jack followed Shadow's gaze and approached the trees. Suddenly, a deafening thunderclap echoed, and a lightning strike hit a nearby tree, which fell, blocking their path back. Jack, trapped between the storm and the forest, knew he needed to find shelter quickly. He spotted a small cave in the distance and decided to head towards it. Shadow, always attentive to his owner's movements, guided Jack through the rough terrain. The torrential rain turned the ground into mud, making every step difficult. As they approached the cave, an anguished cry pierced the air. It was Jack's son, Timmy, who had followed his father without him knowing. Timmy was trapped in a ravine, with the water rising rapidly around him. The despair in the boy's eyes made Jack's stomach drop. He knew he needed to act fast to save his son. Jack tried to descend the ravine, but the slippery mud made it impossible to advance. Shadow, realizing the urgency of the situation, acted instinctively. The horse bravely descended the ravine, his hooves sinking into the mud as he approached Timmy. Jack watched with his heart in his throat, praying that Shadow would succeed. With incredible agility, Shadow positioned himself next to Timmy and, with a firm movement, helped the boy climb onto his back. Jack, now with tears in his eyes, saw his son clinging to the horse's neck as Shadow ascended the ravine with the same courage with which he had descended. Upon reaching safety, Jack hugged Timmy tightly, thanking Shadow with all the words he could find. The storm roared around them, but at that moment, all that mattered was the bravery of a mustang who had faced the impossible to save his owner and his son. And so, as the thunder echoed in the sky, Jack knew that Shadow was more than just a horse. He was a hero who would always be by his side in the toughest moments of life. The storm had passed, leaving behind a tranquil but soggy landscape. Jack, Timmy, and Shadow stood at the entrance of the cave, grateful for their safety but aware of the challenges that lay ahead. The downpour had turned the once familiar terrain into a maze of mud and debris, making their journey back to the ranch even more daunting. As they navigated their way through the transformed landscape, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that something more significant was at play. Shadow's unusual behavior, the sudden storm, and Timmy's near-death experience all seemed too coincidental. Jack knew he needed to stay vigilant, for the safety of his family and his loyal mustang. Days passed, and life on the ranch slowly returned to normal. Jack and Timmy worked side by side, repairing fences and tending to the animals, while Shadow roamed the fields, ever watchful. But the sense of unease lingered, like a shadow that refused to be dispelled. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the ranch, Jack sat on the porch with a cup of coffee in hand. He watched as Timmy played with Shadow, the boy's laughter echoing through the quiet air. It was a moment of peace, but Jack's mind was far from at ease. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the edge of the forest, making its way towards the ranch. Jack squinted, trying to make out who it was. As the figure came closer, Jack recognized the familiar face of his old friend, Sarah. She was a local historian, known for her deep knowledge of the region's history and folklore. "Jack," Sarah called out as she approached, her voice tinged with urgency. "I need to talk to you. It's important." Jack stood up, his curiosity piqued. "What is it, Sarah? What's going on?" Sarah glanced around nervously before speaking. "I've been researching some old legends about this area, and I came across something that might explain what's been happening lately." Jack's heart raced as he listened to Sarah's words. She revealed that the forest near the ranch was believed to be haunted by the spirits of ancient mustangs, fiercely protective of their land and those who respected them. The storm, Shadow's behavior, and Timmy's accident were all connected to these spirits, who had been trying to warn and protect them. "I know it sounds far-fetched, Jack," Sarah said, her eyes filled with conviction. "But I found documents and accounts that corroborate these legends. The spirits see Shadow as a guardian, and they've chosen him to protect you and your family." Jack struggled to process the information. He looked at Shadow, who stood calmly by Timmy's side, as if understanding the gravity of the situation. The Mustang's eyes seemed to hold a wisdom that transcended the ordinary. "Sarah, what do we do?" Jack asked, his voice trembling with uncertainty. Sarah took a deep breath. "We need to honor the spirits and their guardianship. There are rituals and offerings that can be made to show our respect and gratitude. It's the only way to ensure our safety and harmony with the land." As the night grew darker, Jack and Sarah discussed the steps they needed to take. The ranch, once a place of simple routines and hard work, had now become a focal point of ancient powers and unseen forces. Jack knew that he had to embrace this new reality, for the sake of his family and his loyal Mustang. Little did they know, the events of that stormy day were only the beginning. The shadows of the past were about to reveal secrets that would change their lives forever. The next morning, the scent of wet earth and birdsong filled the air. Jack, Sarah, Timmy, and Shadow gathered near the cave entrance, ready to honor the spirits of the ancient Mustangs. Sarah brought artifacts and instructions for the rituals. Though skeptical, Jack was determined to protect his family and honor his bond with Shadow. Timmy, wide-eyed with curiosity, followed closely behind. As they ventured deeper into the forest, sunlight filtered through the dense canopy, casting shadows on the ground. Sarah led the way, guiding them through the maze of trees and underbrush. After what felt like hours, they arrived at a secluded clearing with an ancient stone altar. Sarah carefully placed the artifacts on the altar. Jack stepped forward, holding an offering of wildflowers and herbs, and placed them on the altar. Timmy followed suit, his hands trembling slightly as he added his own offering. Sarah began to chant softly, invoking the spirits and asking for their protection and guidance. Shadow, standing tall and still, appeared to understand the gravity of the moment. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through the clearing, rustling the leaves and causing the candles on the altar to flicker. The atmosphere grew charged with unseen energy. Jack felt a shiver run down his spine. As the ritual continued, Jack's mind was flooded with memories of the past. He thought of his parents, who had worked tirelessly to build the ranch, and of the sacrifices they had made. He thought of the day he had found Shadow, lost and frightened. Guided by an unseen force, Jack's thoughts turned to a memory he had long buried, a time when he had felt truly lost. It was during that dark period that he had met Sarah, who had helped him rediscover his purpose and strength. The memory brought tears to Jack's eyes. He realized that the spirits were not just protecting the land, they were guiding him. He looked at Shadow, who seemed to nod in understanding, and felt a renewed sense of connection to his loyal companion. As Sarah concluded the ritual, the wind died down, and a sense of calm settled over the clearing. The spirits had heard their plea, and Jack knew they had been granted protection. But with that protection came responsibility, to honor the land, the spirits, and the bond with Shadow. With the ritual complete, they began their journey back to the ranch, each step filled with newfound purpose. The shadows of the past had revealed their secrets, and the path ahead, though uncertain, was one they would face together. In the weeks following the ritual, life on the ranch settled into a new routine. Jack, Timmy, Sarah, and Shadow became more attuned to the land and the spirits that watched over them. Shadow's connection to his surroundings seemed to grow stronger, his instincts keener. One evening, as the sun set and cast long shadows across the ranch, Jack and Timmy sat by the fire, listening to Sarah recount tales of the ancient mustangs. "Jack," Sarah began, "there's more to the legends than just the spirits. There are stories of hidden treasures guarded by the mustangs." Timmy's eyes widened with excitement. "Treasures? Like gold and jewels?" Sarah smiled. "Not just any treasures, Timmy. These are relics of a forgotten time, artifacts with the power to reveal truths and heal wounds. But the spirits will only guide those with a pure heart and genuine purpose." The next day, Jack, Sarah, Timmy, and Shadow set out to explore the forest further, guided by Sarah's knowledge and Shadow's instincts. After hours of trekking through the dense forest, they stumbled upon an ancient tree with strange symbols etched into its bark. "These markings are a map," Sarah explained, her voice filled with wonder. "They point to a location deeper in the forest." Jack felt a mix of excitement and caution. "We need to be respectful, Sarah. The spirits are guarding these treasures." Sarah nodded in agreement. "We'll follow the map, but we must remain vigilant and honor the spirits." As they continued their journey, the forest seemed to grow denser, the path more challenging. Yet, their resolve never wavered. Shadow led the way, his steps sure and deliberate, as if he knew exactly where they needed to go. Finally, they reached a hidden clearing bathed in an ethereal light. In the center stood a stone pedestal adorned with intricate carvings depicting the Mustang's guardianship over the land. The clearing seemed to pulse with energy, and Jack felt a deep connection to the land and its history. Timmy stepped forward, eyes wide with wonder. "Is this it, Dad? Did we find the treasures?" Jack placed a reassuring hand on Timmy's shoulder. "I think we did, son. But it's not just about the treasures. It's about understanding our connection to this land and honoring the spirits that protect it." As they stood in the clearing, the wind picked up, carrying the whispers of the ancient mustangs. Jack knew their journey was far from over. The hidden treasures were just the beginning, and the lessons they would learn along the way would shape their destinies in ways they could never have imagined. As they prepared to return to the ranch, Jack took one last look at the clearing, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and purpose. The spirits had guided them to this point, and he knew that their journey would continue to be filled with challenges and revelations. With Shadow by their side, they were ready to face whatever the future held. As the days turned into weeks, the newfound sense of purpose brought Jack, Timmy, Sarah, and Shadow even closer. They continued their work on the ranch, but their thoughts often drifted back to the hidden clearing and the treasures that lay within. Jack knew that their journey was far from over, and the challenges ahead would test their faith and determination. One crisp morning, as the sun rose over the horizon, Jack received an unexpected visitor at the ranch. It was an old acquaintance, David, a fellow rancher from a neighboring town. David had heard rumors about the hidden treasures and was eager to join the search. "Jack," David called out as he approached, a determined look in his eyes. "I heard about the treasures. I want to help you find them." Jack hesitated, unsure if he could trust David. But he knew that having another pair of hands could be valuable. "All right, David. But we must be careful and respect the spirits that guard these treasures." David nodded, and the group set out once more, guided by the ancient map and Shadow's instincts. The forest seemed more foreboding this time, the shadows deeper and the air charged with tension. Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. As they ventured further, they encountered a series of obstacles: fallen trees, treacherous ravines, and dense underbrush. Each challenge tested their resolve, but they pressed on, driven by the promise of uncovering the hidden treasures. One evening, as they set up camp by a bubbling brook, David shared stories of his own experiences with the land and its mysteries. His tales were filled with adventure and intrigue, but also with warnings of the dangers that lurked in the shadows. "Jack," David said, his voice low and serious, The spirits can be unpredictable. We must tread carefully and remain vigilant. Jack nodded in agreement, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. The journey had become more than just a search for treasures. It was a test of their faith and a reaffirmation of their bond with the land and its guardians. The following day, they reached a particularly challenging ravine, its steep walls lined with jagged rocks. Jack knew they needed to find a way across, but the path was treacherous. Shadow, ever the vigilant guardian, seemed to sense the danger and hesitated. "Jack," Sarah called out, "we need to trust Shadow. He'll find a way." Jack nodded, placing his trust in his loyal companion. Shadow carefully navigated the ravine, finding footholds where none seemed to exist. The rest of the group followed, their hearts pounding with each precarious step. As they reached the other side, a sense of relief washed over them. But their respite was short-lived. The ground beneath them began to tremble, and a low rumble echoed through the forest. Jack realized that they had triggered a landslide. "Run!" Jack shouted, urging the group to move quickly. They sprinted through the forest, dodging falling rocks and debris. Shadow led the way, his instincts guiding them to safety. Finally, they reached a clearing, panting and exhausted but unscathed. The near disaster had shaken them, but it also strengthened their resolve. They knew that their journey was far from over and that the challenges ahead would continue to test their faith and determination. Jack looked at Shadow, who stood tall and resolute, and felt a renewed sense of purpose. As the sun set and the shadows lengthened, Jack knew that they were on the right path. The hidden treasures were within reach, and the lessons they had learned along the way would guide them through the trials to come. With Shadow by their side, they were ready to face whatever the future held. As the days passed, the challenges continued to mount. Jack, Timmy, Sarah, and Shadow were resolute in their quest to uncover the hidden treasures while honoring the spirits that protected the land. Their journey was more than a search for artifacts. It was a test of their faith and unity. One crisp morning, as the sun's rays pierced the horizon, Shadow grew uneasy. His eyes darted nervously, and his ears twitched at every sound. Jack sensed they were being watched but couldn't pinpoint the source. Later that day, they encountered a group of strangers led by a man named Mark. He had heard about the treasures and was determined to find them. "Jack," Mark said sharply, "we want in." Jack, wary of the newcomers, replied, "This quest requires respect for the spirits and the land." Mark scoffed. "Spirits or not, we're coming with you." Reluctantly, Jack allowed them to join, keeping a close eye on Mark and his men. Shadow, ever vigilant, sensed the danger and remained on high alert. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the path grew treacherous. They reached a narrow ravine lined with sharp rocks. Shadow led the way, navigating the terrain with care. The strangers followed, their impatience and recklessness making the crossing perilous. Halfway across, one of Mark's men slipped, causing a rockslide. The ground trembled, and Jack shouted for everyone to move quickly. Shadow, with Timmy on his back, darted ahead, guiding them to safety. Once across, Mark's frustration boiled over. "This is taking too long. We need to move faster." Jack stood firm. "We can't rush. The spirits demand respect." Mark's eyes narrowed, but he remained silent. They pressed on, the tension palpable. As they neared the hidden clearing, the forest seemed alive with whispers and shadows. Jack felt a chill run down his spine, knowing they were close to the heart of the spirit's domain. Shadow's steps were steady, his instincts guiding them forward. In the clearing, the stone pedestal stood glowing faintly. The group approached with reverence, but Mark's men were restless, their eyes fixed on potential treasures. Sarah began the ritual, chanting softly to honor the spirits. Jack and Timmy followed, placing their offerings on the pedestal. The air grew charged with energy, and the forest seemed to hold its breath. Suddenly, Mark's impatience took over. He rushed forward, grabbing at the artifacts. The ground shook violently, and a deafening roar filled the air. The spirits, angered by the disrespect, unleashed their fury. The group scrambled for safety as the forest seemed to collapse around them. Jack shouted for everyone to stick together, but chaos ensued. Shadow, with Timmy on his back, stood firm, protecting the boy from harm. As the dust settled, the clearing was transformed. The pedestal remained, but the artifacts were gone, hidden once more by the spirits. Jack realized their journey was far from over. The test had revealed the true nature of their quest, one of respect, faith, and unwavering bonds. With renewed purpose, Jack, Timmy, Sarah, and Shadow prepared to continue their journey, knowing the challenges ahead would only strengthen their resolve. The spirits had spoken, and they were ready to listen. The journey back to the ranch was filled with a tense silence. The near disaster at the clearing weighed heavily on everyone's minds. Jack, Timmy, Sarah, and Shadow knew they had narrowly escaped the spirits' wrath, and the importance of their mission was clearer than ever. Back at the ranch, they regrouped, determined to honor the spirits and learn from their mistakes. Mark, humbled by the experience, apologized for his recklessness. Jack accepted his apology but made it clear that respect for the spirits was paramount. Days turned into weeks, and the group focused on understanding the ancient markings and symbols they had encountered. Sarah's research revealed more about the spirits and their connection to the land. The hidden treasures were not just artifacts, they were keys to unlocking the deeper truths of their heritage. One evening, as they pored over ancient texts and maps, Timmy made a startling discovery. "Dad, look at this," he exclaimed, pointing to a faded illustration of a hidden chamber within the forest. Jack's heart raced. "Sarah, could this be another clue?" Sarah examined the illustration closely. "It's possible. This chamber might hold the answers we've been searching for." The next morning, they set out once more, guided by Timmy's discovery and Shadow's instincts. The forest seemed to welcome them this time, the shadows less foreboding and the path more inviting. Jack felt a renewed sense of hope. As they ventured deeper, they found the entrance to the hidden chamber, concealed by overgrown vines and moss. With great effort, they cleared the entrance and stepped inside. The chamber was filled with an otherworldly light, illuminating ancient carvings that adorned the walls. Sarah's eyes widened with awe. "This place is incredible. These carvings tell the story of the Mustangs and their guardianship over the land." Jack and Timmy explored the chamber, their fingers tracing the intricate designs. They came across a series of symbols that matched the markings on the ancient map. It was clear that they had found something of great significance. In the center of the chamber, they discovered a pedestal similar to the one in the clearing. Resting on it was an ornate box, covered in dust and age. Jack carefully lifted the box, and as he opened it, a soft glow emanated from within. Inside, they found a collection of artifacts, ancient tools, jewelry, and scrolls. Each item seemed to pulse with energy, as if holding the essence of the spirits themselves. Jack felt a deep connection to the treasures, understanding that they were not just material objects but symbols of their bond with the land. As they examined the artifacts, Shadow stood watch, his eyes reflecting the chamber's light. It was a moment of revelation, a confirmation of their journey's purpose. The spirits had guided them to this point, and Jack knew that their mission was far from over. With the treasures in hand, they made their way back to the ranch, each step filled with a sense of accomplishment and gratitude. The journey had tested their faith and unity, but it had also strengthened their bonds and deepened their understanding of their heritage. As the sun set and the stars began to twinkle, Jack, Timmy, Sarah, and Shadow stood together, knowing that the revelations they had uncovered would shape their futures in ways they could only begin to imagine. With the ancient treasures in their possession, Jack, Timmy, Sarah, and Shadow felt a renewed purpose. They spent days studying the artifacts, each holding a piece of the land's history and spirit. One evening, Jack gathered everyone around the fire. "We've come far, but there's more to uncover," he said. Sarah nodded. "The artifacts point to a deeper connection." There's still a final revelation waiting for us. The next morning, guided by Shadow's instincts, they ventured deeper into the forest. Ancient symbols carved into trees guided their way. After hours of trekking, they arrived at a hidden glade with a stone altar at its center. "This is the heart of the land," Sarah whispered in awe. Jack and Timmy placed the artifacts on the altar. A soft glow emanated, and the air grew charged with energy. The spirits were present, their whispers carried on the wind. Timmy stepped forward. "What do we do now, Dad?" Jack placed a reassuring hand on Timmy's shoulder. "We honor the spirits and the land. We show our gratitude for their guidance." As Sarah chanted softly, invoking the spirits, the air shimmered with energy. Jack realized their journey was about more than uncovering treasures. It was about understanding their place in the world and their bond with the land and its guardians. The glow from the altar intensified, and the artifacts pulsed with energy. The spirits had accepted their offerings and granted their blessing. Their journey had come full circle, and the revelations they uncovered would shape their futures. With the ritual complete, they returned to the ranch, each step filled with a sense of accomplishment and gratitude. The spirits had guided them, and their connection to the land would continue to grow. As the sun set, Jack, Timmy, Sarah, and Shadow stood together, knowing their journey was far from over. The heart of the land had revealed its secrets, and they were ready to embrace the future with open hearts and minds. The days after their return to the ranch were filled with a sense of peace and purpose. Jack, Timmy, Sarah, and Shadow felt closer to the land and its spirits than ever before. They had uncovered hidden treasures and deepened their understanding of their heritage. But they knew their journey was not yet complete. One morning, David returned, eager to help. "Jack, I believe there's still more to uncover," he said. Jack welcomed David back, and the group set out once more to explore the forest. Shadow's instincts guided them toward new revelations. Their journey was fraught with challenges that tested their trust and teamwork. First, they navigated a dense thicket, its thorny branches forming an almost impenetrable barrier. Working together, they found a narrow path through the thicket, requiring careful navigation and cooperation. Next, they encountered a swift river. Sarah suggested building a makeshift raft to cross safely. With logs and vines, they crafted a sturdy raft and crossed the turbulent waters. Their final challenge was a steep cliff with rocky ledges. Shadow, ever the vigilant guardian, found a safe route up the cliff. The group followed, each step a test of their trust in one another. At the top, they saw a hidden cave. Inside, ancient carvings depicted the history of the Mustangs and their guardianship over the land. In the center, they found an ornate chest filled with scrolls and relics, pulsing with the spirit's energy. Jack realized these artifacts held the final truths of their journey. The spirits had guided them, and their trials had strengthened their bonds and deepened their understanding of their heritage. With the scrolls and relics in hand, they returned to the ranch. The journey had tested their faith, trust, and unity, but it had also brought them closer together. As the sun set and the stars began to twinkle, Jack, Timmy, Sarah, David, and Shadow stood together, knowing the lessons they had learned would guide them through future challenges. Their connection to the land and its spirits would continue to grow. As the first light of dawn touched the ranch, Jack, Timmy, Sarah, David, and Shadow prepared for what they knew would be a pivotal day. They had come a long way, uncovering hidden treasures and ancient truths, but the journey had also strengthened their bond with the land and its spirits. Jack gathered everyone around the fire. "We've faced many challenges and learned so much. Today, we complete our journey by honoring the spirits and reaffirming our commitment to this land." The group set out once more, carrying the scrolls and relics they had discovered. Shadow led the way, his steps confident and purposeful. The forest seemed to welcome them, the path clear and inviting. After hours of trekking, they reached the hidden glade where they had performed the ritual. The stone altar stood as a testament to their journey, a symbol of the bond they had forged with the land and its guardians. Sarah carefully placed the scrolls and relics on the altar. These artifacts hold the wisdom and energy of the spirits. We must honor them with respect and gratitude. Jack, Timmy, and David added their own offerings, each one a symbol of their journey and the lessons they had learned. As they stood in silence, Sarah began to chant softly, invoking the spirits and asking for their blessing. The air grew charged with energy, and the forest around them seemed to come alive with light and sound. The spirits were present, their whispers carried on the wind. Jack felt a deep connection to the land and its guardians, a sense of peace and purpose. Timmy stepped forward, his eyes filled with wonder. "Dad, look at the altar." The stone altar began to glow, and the artifacts pulsed with energy. The spirits had accepted their offerings and granted their blessing. Jack knew that their journey had come full circle, and the bond they had forged with the land would guide them through the future. As the ritual continued, Jack's mind was filled with memories of their journey, the challenges they had faced, the bonds they had strengthened, and the truths they had uncovered. He looked at Shadow, who stood tall and resolute, and felt a deep sense of gratitude for his loyal companion. The glow from the altar intensified, and the air shimmered with energy. The spirits had spoken, and their message was clear: honor the land, protect its secrets, and cherish the bond that had been forged. With the ritual complete, they made their way back to the ranch, each step filled with a sense of accomplishment and gratitude. The journey had tested their faith, trust, and unity, but it had also brought them closer together. As the sun set and the stars began to twinkle, Jack, Timmy, Sarah, David, and Shadow stood together, knowing that their connection to the land and its spirits would continue to grow. The journey had revealed the heart of the land, and they were ready to embrace the future with open hearts and minds.